Hello everyone. Today I want to talk about string and math features. But before that, let's talk about how to write a variable name. So basically, variable name may not start with a digit or underscore and may not end with an underscore. And variable name includes only English characters, digits, or a underscore character. So if you want to give an example, let's say you want to define an integer variable named my age, but you want to define it with a space between my and age word. So if you come here and write my age like this, you're gonna get an error. And why is that? Because you can't put any space between variable names. Instead of putting a space between your variable names, you can put an underscore between your variable names. Even you can put that underscore at the beginning of your variable name and it still should work perfectly. Okay, now that we covered all this, let's move on to our string features. Okay, let's start with an example. First, let me delete. Let me write string name and define it with Ahmed. So, I have a string name variable and I have identified it with a value of Ahmed. So let's write console write line name and of course console read line so we can see what we are writing. Now as you can see it can print out Ahmed perfectly. Now what we learned in our previous lessons, we can use a plus sign to combine multiple variables in write line command. So if I do this, what am I gonna print out? I'm gonna print out Ahmed and Ahmed. But what I want to teach you is that you can do the same thing while defining your variable. So what I mean by that, if I come here and add a plus sign and add a, I don't know, Zengin, my surname, I can technically print out two string values in one string variable. So let's execute the program and as you can see I have Ahmed Zengin. So let's give another example. Let's say we want to quote something. Let's change it to quote. We want to quote someone's words. For example, Steve Jobs, your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. So what I want to do that, I want to write Steve Jobs name and add a quotation mark. So it can show that it's Steve Jobs quote. But when I try to add quotation marks in the string, as you can see it's already got out from the string and giving me tons of errors. So to do that, to put a quotation mark in your string, you need to put a backslash before you're putting a quotation mark. If you remember from our previous lectures, it's actually like escape sequence. So what I mean by that is like backslash n and backslash t. So if you want to put a quotation marks in your string, you just need to put a backslash before it. So if I want to print that out, I need to put a quotation mark there and change it to quotes and execute our code. As you can see, now I can print out quotation marks in my string. So let's give another feature. Let's say I want to know the length of this string. So instead of counting by one by, we can easily write, if we come here, put a point, which you can see many of another features, but we are gonna use our length feature. Come here and write length and execute the program. It's gonna give us an integer number. So it's gonna give us 80. So that basically means this string has 80 characters. Let's delete some of the strings so we can confirm by counting. Let's say only Steve Jobs. It should give us 3, 6, 9 and 10. Let's execute the command and as you can see it gives us 10. So basically what that means, this string has 10 characters in it. Let me give you another feature. So let's say I want this string to be an uppercase. So all of its characters should be uppercase. How can I do that? If I just come here and delete this length, instead of length, write to upper and put an open and close parentheses, this will change this string's character to upper characters. As you can see, all of the characters in the string become uppercase characters. We can do the reverse. How can we do this? Instead of upper, we can write lower. If we write lower, all of the characters in here should be lower case. Let's test that out. As you can see, we have Steve Jobs in lower cases. Now, let me do a different thing. So, if I want a character in the string, let's put some more characters. Let's say if I want to get this B character, only the B character. To do that, I need to first delete this, put our variable names in here, then open and close square brackets. Now, if I were to come here and put an integer number between those brackets, let's say 3, it's gonna show me the third character of this string. So you can say, oh, third character, that's easy. 1, 2, 3, E, it's gonna show E. Wrong. When we are counting strings like that, we start the counting at 0. So it's gonna show us 0, 1, 2, and 3. It's gonna show us the character V. Let's execute the command, and as you can see, it's showing us the character V. Okay, let me give you guys another feature. So, if we write code index of and put a string value in there, let's say our boy Steve here, let's copy and paste that. This will give the location of this Steve in that string. So basically it's gonna give us the integer value of that location. So if we try to execute this command, it will give us the location, the start of the location. So it should give us the integer 0. As you can see, it gives us the integer 0. And why it gives us the integer 0 instead of 1? Because we start the counting strings at 0. So let's say instead of Steve, let's write Eve. So this code should give us 0, 1, and 2. As you can see, the code gives us 2. Okay, let me give you another example. Instead of writing index of, we can write contains. And basically what this contains code does, it checks that the string value between his brackets is in that variable value. So basically it's gonna check the Steve is in that quote string value. Yes, because we have Steve right there. So it's gonna return us true value, because this contains command return only bool values. So let's check that out. As you can see, we have true value. But if I add an extra e here, it's gonna give us false value, as you can see here. Okay, for the last method that I'm gonna teach you guys today for this string methods is substring. Let's write that down. Substring. So basically, what does this substring do? It takes the part of our variable. So basically, in this example, it's gonna take the part of this string. But which part? To select the part that we want from substring to take, we need to give two integer numbers to substring. First one for the start location, second one for the length. So if we come here and write 3 for example and 4, And as you can see, it's already telling us int start index for 3 and int length for 4. So basically, substring is gonna come here and start counting 0, 1, 2, and 3. So it's gonna begin with V, and it's gonna continue until it has 4 characters. So basically, V, E, space, and G. So this substring is gonna print out VE space and G. So let's execute and confirm it. And as you can see, we have VE space and G characters. And this is it for our string part. So let's continue working with numbers. Okay, before we start our mathematical functions, I want to show you guys some mathematical operations. And what I mean by mathematical operations, instead of creating, let's say, 3 integers, num1, num2, sum, let's give those a value, num1 1, num2 2, of course not 12, num2 2, and sum num1 plus num2. So these lines of code will give us the sum of num1 and num2. So it will give us the result of 3. Let's write that down. And let's write console line and execute our command. As you can see, we have the 3 value. But instead of creating 3 values for doing a simple mathematical operations, instead of creating those variables, we can just write 1 plus 2 in that right line command, and it will give us the result of 1 plus 2, so our 3 answer. And what I mean by that, you can easily do any kind of operations in here. For example, 5 multiplied by 3, 15, or subtract by 3, the answer is 2. The thing that I want to show you guys, a new operator, which are we gonna call a remainder. So what does this remainder do? This remainder divides 5 by 3 and show us the remainder of the result of 1 divided by 3. So 1 divided by 3 gives us the result of 1 and the remainder result of 2. So when we try to show this result on screen, we are gonna get 1. Of course, we need to delete this. We're gonna get 1. But if I delete this divide operator and put a remainder operator, we're gonna get result 2. So how can this remainder operator will be useful to you? You can easily find that this number is even or not. How can we do that? If we just change this 3 to 2 and look at the result of it, which is gonna give us 1. If this result is equal to 1, our number is odd. If it is so result equals to 0, our number is even. So I still want to play with this a little bit. So let's say I want to write 5 divided by 2. What is the result? The result is 2. But what is the real result? What I mean real, what is the decimal of that 2? It's going to be 2.5, right? 5 divided by 2, it's actually 2.5. But we wrote integer numbers in there. So the answer should be integer. That's why it says 2 and not 2.5. But if you want the result to write 2.5, you need to change at least one of these numbers to double, to decimal. So if I add 2.0 here, the result would be 2.5. It's the same with the 5. If I wrote 5, oh, what's up? Okay. If I wrote 5.0 here, the result will be 2.5. And if I still write 2.0 here, the result will be 2.5. So before going into the math functions, I still want to teach you guys one more thing. And for that, let's create an integer num, let's give a 5 value to it. Okay, and print in same time. Let's execute that function. As you can see, we have 5. Now, what I'm gonna do is that I'm just gonna write a single line of code, which will be is num plus plus. So, what is this num plus plus it's gonna do? So, when I execute this command, I'm gonna see a 6 value here. Let's execute it. As you can see, I have 6 value. Why do I have 6 value? Because this num plus plus adds 1 to its current value. So my num here is now 6. It's the same with num minus minus. When I wrote num minus minus here, what will be the result that I'm gonna see here? It's going to be 5, guys. Not 4, not 4. Be careful about that. It adds 1 to its current value. What will the num value here? What is the num value here? It's 6. So it's gonna extract 1 from that 6 and it's gonna show us the number 5. So it will be 5. Let's write down here. Okay, let's do a different thing now. Let's delete this comment first. Now, let's write that num plus plus in the right line command. So if I write num plus plus here, what will be the result of this num? If you say 6, you are, I'm afraid, wrong. Because this num plus plus adds that 1 to its current value later when it sees the num. So what I mean by that? If I wrote that num plus plus here, it will show us 5. But if I come here, wrote a num again, it will show the value of 6 to us. So basically, it's going to print that num first, then its one value to its current value. So it's gonna print the num first, then its plus 1. It's the same with the minus 1, guys. So if I change the minus, it's going to be 5, then 4. But if we come here and add those plus plus or minus minuses, before we wrote our num, it's going to add that 1 to its current value, then print out our num. So now it's gonna be 6. Let's execute it. As you can see, it's going to be a 6. It's the same with minus minus. It's going to subtract 1 from its current value, then it's gonna print our num. So the value will be 4. And as you can see, the value is 4. Okay, now let's go into the mathematical functions. First, let's delete this. Okay. The first function that I'm gonna show you guys is mathmax. What does mathmax do? It takes two integer values or two mathematical values and show us the bigger one. So if I come here and write 2 and 4, the result will be number 4. Same with 4 and 2, because placements doesn't matter. Again, you will see the number 4. If I come here and write 4.5, it will show us 4.5. So it doesn't have to be integer, it can also be a double number. And it's the same with math min. It will show us the smallest number, so the answer will be 2 here. And again, the placements doesn't matter. As you can see, we have the number 2. So one other thing is that math pow. Pow stands for power. So what does this function does? It takes two values from us. The first one will be the base and the second one will be the power. So the result should be 8, because 2 to the power of 3. And as you can see, it's 8. But if we change this to 3 and this to 2, the result should be 9. And as you can see, the result is 9. Because the first number is the base and the second number is the power. Okay, let me give you guys another function. Let's write math round. So what does this function do? This function takes one decimal number from the user, and according to that number's decimal points, it rounds that number. So, okay, let me give you an example. Now, let's write 3.4. Now, this math round function is going to round this number according to its decimal point. And because of its decimal points smaller or equal to 4, this result will be 3. Because it's smaller than and equal than 4, it's going to be round to 3, guys. But if we change that 4 to 5 or any bigger number than 4, it's going to be, our result is going to be 4. And as you can see here. Okay, let me give you one last thing to, let's write math square root. And what does this square root function does? It takes one value from us and it takes its square root. So if we come here and write 25, the result will be 5. And as you can see, the result is 5. We can even write 5 here, but the result will be a lot on decimals. So, thank you for watching, guys. This is the end of our lecture. I'll see you on our next courses. But for now, goodbye.